ladies, I hope you are doing well. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. I've heard on the grapevine and I've seen it posted randomly in different places that they are in a journaling funk. And I was asked to cover the topic on how to get out of a journaling funk. So I thought that I would create, while talking about this topic, there will be some cutaway shots because I've got a few points I want to cover, because I've been thinking about this topic for a little while now and wondering how I could present it to you in a way that would help you but also inspire you just to start journaling, or to get into your journal, or make some sort of contact with your journal, even if it just means that you're picking it up and you're holding it while I talk about it. Because having contact with your journal is one of the big things that you need in order to feel like journaling. If you don't have your journal with you, in your hands, in your lap, in your bag, anywhere, you're not making that connection with your journal. And the longer you leave it, the easier it is to just not do anything at all. So I think you need to make contact with your journal. It needs to be in your life in more ways than just on your bookshelf. On your bookshelf, it's not doing anything. It's not helping you in any way, shape or form, and you're not helping it, and you're not getting your things out. So I always have my journal with me in every room. If it's not with me, it's beside my bed. It is always in the places that I'm habitating. I am in. Like if I'm in the lounge room, it's on the coffee table. If I'm playing WoW with my husband, it's next to me. If I'm in bed, it's on my bedside table. If I'm in the studio, it is normally on my set of drawers where my collage sheets are. At the moment, it is literally right here to the side of me. I always have my journal with me at all times, whether I want to be journaling or not. It is a constant companion, and so I've always got that sort of connection to my journal. And so that's one way in which I feel like it is easier to journal if you are making constant contact with your book. And it may sound weird and stuff, but it really does help having it on you at all times, or even just around you. You don't have to be holding it, but I find it comforting to have it around me, and I'm more likely, if I'm sitting there doing nothing, or if I'm just pottering about, I'm more likely to pull my journal out than I am if it's, say, on a bookshelf in the studio and I'm in the lounge room. So when it's not actively present in your life, it is easy to disconnect yourself from your journal and not want to journal at all. And one of the things that also came up was my life is boring. I've got nothing to journal about. Like, what could I possibly journal about? Nothing exciting is happening. And this was an interesting one because I myself work from home. And so 5 days a week, I'm at home in these four walls alone. I send my kids off to school, I send my husband off to work, and from 9 until 2:45, I'm alone. And I'm in my house and nothing really changes. My routine is very, very monotonous. It is very repetitive. Nothing really changes except what I'm working on, what's in front of me. If I went on the premise of my life is boring, I've got nothing to journal about, then my journals would never fill up. Now, some of you may be chronological journalers, and that's all well and good. I understand the purpose for that. And if you are a chronological journaler and you say my life is boring and I've got nothing to write about, one of the things that I think that you should do is take photos. And as you can see, I am cutting up photos right now. And one of my tips is to always have photographs on hand, and they may be snapshots from your life, they may be memories, they may be tidbits, they may be pictures off the internet. It does not matter. I have always got some form of photograph in my little pouch with stuff that I can journal about. Now, if you are worried about being a chronological journaler, I think you should pop down the photograph that you have and maybe put a heading that says reflections or musings or daily thoughts. And that way you can pop down a photograph that triggers off a memory or something you'd like to cover and talk about. One of the things that I really like covering in my journal is the whole feeling of friendship. And as an adult woman, making friends in your later ages is really, really hard. And something that I find myself reflecting on a lot is my friendships that I've made as I've gotten older and how I treasure those friendships. And so I will randomly pop in photos of me and the girls, or me and friends just in general. Normally it is Sam and Sian, because they are the two friends that I've made in my adult life that have been a constant in my life for the last almost 2 years. And so I always write about how grateful I am that I've got them, or just the whole premise of making friends as an adult and how important friendships are as an adult, in my opinion. And so that's not something that I've done on a day-to-day basis. I don't see Sam and Sian every day, but it's something that I'm always reflecting on and I'm always thinking about. So having reflection pages in your journal is a great way for you to be able to pick up your journal, say nothing has changed in the last 48 hours. You've got nothing to write about. You've been at home all day. You've done nothing. You've seen nothing. You've thought nothing, but you've got photographs. So photographs can then trigger a memory, and then memories turn into writing. You paste down your pictures because you've always got pictures on your phone, and you write about that. You write about your reflections. You can draw. You don't have to write if you're not a writer. Don't think that I'm talking about writing only, but I'm trying to get you into the habit of thinking outside the box and thinking about ways in which you can make connections with your journal that doesn't have to be along the chronological thing, especially if you rely on your life being exciting in order to journal. I feel like that is hard to keep up with, and something that I would fail at dismally, because my life 5 days a week is the absolute same. And my routine is the absolute same. So I need to take pleasure in the ordinary in order to make my life feel extraordinary, if you understand what I mean. So a lot of the times I will take snapshots of things that just are really super, super ordinary. Having, dinner on Valentine's Day with my family, I took snapshots of the kids. That's something that's out of the ordinary. Going in the car, and I really liked my little cactus dress in my handbag, so I snapped a shot, and then that becomes a memory that I can write about. Things that you order off the internet. I picked up these beautiful palettes and they came, and so I snapped a shot of it and then printed it out to write about in my journal. And then I know that stuff came in the mail for that, so I've got the postcard that came with my order that I now can't find because I've put it somewhere in my hoard of papers. Of course. But that's just one aspect in which you can write about. And because NaNoWriMo is happening, you've probably gotten postcards, or you've gotten little tidbits that you can pick up on. They are things that you didn't have to go anywhere for. You can journal about your wish list, things that you're thinking about purchasing. I've done that before. If I've really wanted something and I've thought about it, I've put a picture down in my journal and talked about the item. I know that seems really superficial, but sometimes I even talk myself out of wanting the item. So there's a method to my madness. Sometimes I will literally just talk about how I'm feeling. That's a lot of the time. An internal monologue is something that I do quite a lot when it comes to my journal. I'm not a chronological journaler, so I don't face a lot of these issues that you guys may have, thinking that you don't have amazeballs lives. I think that it's all in the details. Life is all about the details, and it is all about finding that little moment in your day that means something, that makes you happy, that makes you sad, that makes you think, that made you laugh. I know people that write about the TV shows they're watching, or even just to document the TV shows that they're watching. I will sometimes document movies we've gone to see if they've made an impact on me, song lyrics from music that is doing something for me, that's making me happy. There are so many things that you can do in order to make your journaling something different that doesn't have to be about chronological. Other things that I really like to do is I will test myself to use a different color palette, to work in a different medium. Obviously the choose your own adventure prompts are a great way to do that. They really do sort of push you out of your comfort zone and gives you something to strive for and gives you something to play with. I also really enjoy making not color theory, but I like playing with color and pairing colors together and trying to work out how I can use those colors in my work. So with these little monsters that I've been drawing for your collage sheets, I will sit there and start pairing colors together so that I can work out if it's going to be something good. But you could also do the same thing but in your journal and try and use like different colorways that you haven't used before in your journal. And you may hate it. There's always the possibility that you're going to hate that. But I truly think that it's better to have tried something and to hate it than to never try it and then always be wondering, would I ever love it? Or it's just to get your fingers moving and getting them into the process of doing things. I'm always talking about the domino effect with creativity. It takes little bits and pieces in order to get those dominoes to start falling and create a chain reaction. And creativity is definitely something like that. If you do little bits and pieces, you're slowly going to build up momentum and then you're just going to start blazing. But the hard part is taking that first step. And so I talked about it in our last video about just doing it. And this is definitely something when it comes to creativity as well. And definitely when you're in a rut, you don't want to do anything. So you've got to start pushing yourself. And I don't mean that journaling should be something that you push yourself at, but I think it's something that you can get inside your head. And when you get inside your head, believe me, I am queen of living in my head. I've got a friggin' whole floor in my head. I've got, what's that top level of a hotel? The fancy pants suite in my head. I'm always constantly living in my head, but I have trained myself to be a journaler. Not to be a journaler, but I am a journaler and I do it, and it's second nature to me. It's a daily habit. It's a creative habit. It's something that I love. It's something that I always talk about. And see, their art friends make the best friends. So I'm talking about the same thing. I've talked about my friendship with the girls in every journal since I've met them, and that has got nothing to do with chronological. It is purely because I really appreciate friendship more than ever now that I'm an adult. And talking about that in my journal is definitely something that you can talk about. If you're having a really down day, go and watch the showing up one, go and watch the do the hard things video, and talking about you've just got to start. And so finding ways in which to get out of a journal funk is it's hard, believe me. I don't get so much in a journal funk, I get more in an art funk, and that's when I'm tired and I'm run down, and I've been battling it this month with all the muscle spasm pain. It's draining and it takes all my creativity out of me because I'm so tired of being in pain. But you've just got to start putting pen to paper. You start collecting your photographs. Have a little pouch on hand with your photographs in them. Have them pre-printed. Have them sitting there so you've got something that you can draw on. Have a little box next to you with your photographs or magazine clippings if you can't print photographs. Sometimes I will cut out images that I find really inspiring from magazines, and then I can draw on those magazine clippings. Let's see if I've got some next to me. So let me just move a few of these around because I have bits and pieces everywhere. Plants. You guys know that I'm in a bit of a plant obsession at the moment, so I will cut out things that I find really inspiring and I'll put them to the side, and maybe they will be turned into collage fodder. I've had these images for so long, and I'm not even sure what magazine they are from. It just says on another magazine, but I'm not quite sure where it came from. But this is an older artist, and it has pictures of her studio and her working in her studio, and I was just absolutely encapsulated and amazed just looking at them. And I've had these two photographs from the magazine for years. I keep hold of them. I absolutely love them. I pull them out every now and again. I have more magazine bits in here. Let's see. Things that I find inspiring, you can definitely go through magazines and definitely use them in your journal for collage fodder. Sometimes I cut out colorways that I really enjoy. Her blue hair, I'm totally in for that. I'm pretty sure I pulled this apart because I wanted to use the pavers as like a pattern. Same for this, I liked the colorways. All the red up here would have been what I've picked, and this sort of grid here. So these are the sorts of things that you can do if you can't print photographs, but you can definitely collage things. This is currently what I'm working on at the moment for collage sheets or just an idea, and I was really stuck on what to do at crop night. So one of my go-tos, you're gonna have to find something that's your go-to, whether it be drawing, whether it be collage, whether it be painting, something that you do on autopilot. And they're the things that you need in your skill set to sort of just zone out and just do and just make. And then you notice as you make things, you get into more of the groove of feeling creative, and then suddenly you're making art, you're doing things in your journal, but you need to have one of those go-to autopilot things, and collage is definitely one of those things for me. Watercolor is slowly becoming one of those things that it gets more easier as you do it, so your hands kind of just take over, and you need just something. Maybe it's reading. You can read on autopilot. Let me just turn my light on so it gets a bit brighter in here. But I think that you need to have something that you can go to. If it's writing letters, write letters, but have your journal with you. If you are a pen pal person and you're stuck on what to do in your journal, photocopy the letter that you wrote to a friend and pop it into your journal. Scan the envelope, pop it in your journal, and then talk about, you know, writing and how letters make you feel, and the art of snail mail. There are so many things that you could be creating and writing and documenting in your journal. It doesn't have to be chronological, but it also if you are really stuck on that chronological thing, like I said, put a photo down, write today's musings or thinking about, or just something that doesn't need a date, because it's just thoughts. And I do that a lot, especially because I create a internal monologue in my head all the time, and when it gets too much, I need to put it down onto paper. Cute. So it's so hard to convey how passionate I am about journaling and keeping a journal, and the daily act of putting pen to paper, or the daily act of making sure you take a photo or something. There are so many moments in our lives that can be captured in a photograph, that can be captured in some writing, can be captured in some drawing. And if you don't feel like doing any of those things, then just have your journal with you, on your lap, in your room. That's the thing. Even just sitting there and reading back through old journals, so like pulling out an old journal journal and looking through it and finding things that you like about a spread. And you might go through and go, oh, I really like that. I'm going to take those elements and put them into a new journal spread and try and jig it and redo it. This was one of my favorite spreads. Again, for talking about friends with, you know, it's a common thread in my journal. And talking about my birthday and bits and pieces like that. Find elements in your journal that you really love and then just talk about those. I really loved doing this gratitude list or tidbits from every day. If you don't, this is a great one actually. If you are wondering that there's nothing that you could possibly go to your journal with, do a weekly spread and just write a little tidbit every day. And these are gratitude ones. So I talked about things that I was grateful for. Let's see, having the means to celebrate Easter without worrying about where the money will come from. Now, if you are new to my world, I was definitely not where I am today. And in my previous marriage, it was very, very tough financially. Also, when I decided to walk out on my ex after he abused me, it was even more so. Money was a huge issue, and I was living off 2-minute noodles to make sure that my kids ate better. I was trying to pay rent on a house. I didn't work. I had 2 small children. It was all a bit crazy and all a bit ridiculous. Even though my ex had a job, he wasn't helping financially, so it was hard. So what I'm trying to say is writing down a gratitude. Like I said before, my memory card shut down and had no more room. This was a gratitude list that I absolutely love doing, and I'm 90% sure that this was created when I was in a journal funk. I didn't want to write, I didn't want to draw, I didn't want to paint, but I wanted to have a connection to my journal. So a way to do that is to write daily in your journal, but not so daily that it's daunting. No morning pages, no nothing like that. If that overwhelms you, writing a little tiny bit each day of something that you're grateful for, or a thought or a memory, something that you heard during the day, just a life tidbit. It doesn't have to be a gratitude list, but having small bite-sized little versions of your day to come back to. You're making that connection with your journal. You're going back to it every single day because it's not that much of a commitment to do a little few lines in your journal each day, and then before you know it, you've filled a page, and it will help you sort of just get over that. And if you need to do this every week for a month in order to actually make a connection with your journal, do it. Do it. Because it is all those little things that we can do in our journals that will help us get over that funk, and will definitely really help. Those snapshot boxes, they're also a great way for you to come back to your journal and add a photo each day. These sorts of things are one of my favorite things to do, and probably something I should do in my new journal. I loved how simple they were. They look effective. They're like a photo album, or just the whole premise of it I absolutely adore. And so I think that you need to find a way to make small little entries into your journal that don't have to be a huge commitment for you. If they are something that is excuse me, if they are something that is a really big commitment, then you're not going to want to do it. You're going to get overwhelmed before you even start. And so my advice to you is find something that is small and bite-sized, and to tackle that little bit, because when you're in a funk, even that little bit seems like an absolute mountain to climb when you do not feel like doing anything creatively. And I can definitely account to that when I am feeling really crappy and really not creative, which has been a lot of this month. And I hate to say that out loud, because this is what you turn to me for your creativity and for inspiration, but I'm only human as well, and sometimes things take me down, and pain is one of them. So having these postcards to really just sort of have fun and play with and use. I think there's another one in here that I'm working on, of course, now that I'm looking for it. There's my journal. Maybe I've put it somewhere and I don't know. Well, there's a spare roaming around somewhere, one that I'm actually working on. Here it is. Oh, and there's my case for making tidbits, man. Postcards, receipts, packaging, you name it. You can pop it in your journal. There's no reason why you can't. It doesn't have to even be chronological, because it's just something that's part of your day that you can pop into your journal. But finding something that I could do relaxed, that I could do with my eyes closed, that I enjoyed doing, was something that I needed to draw inspiration from in order to make more art and to get myself back into the habit, or just sort of, I feel happier when I'm creating. But if I am feeling lousy, my anxieties are heightened, my depression is rampaging through my days, left, right, and center, getting to the point where I want to do something is like an uphill battle wearing all the weight I lost on my shoulders. It is like dragging another version of yourself up a really heavy hill, and you feel like you can't do it. You feel like you take one step forward, 50 steps back. So you need to find something that is your go-to, that you feel comfortable with, that you can do, and it gets your hands moving, and then you go, okay, this is not too bad, this is pretty good, I'm enjoying myself, and you keep creating, and then the momentum speeds up and you're back to your normal self. One of the other things that I like to do when I'm in a journal funk is to look at books. Now, I could say go and look at Pinterest, go and look at Instagram, go and look at pictures on the internet, but I'm not going to say that, because then you start comparing yourselves to other people. I know that Instagram is a very powerful tool. Pinterest is a very powerful tool. But it is also a way to steal your joy. Comparison is the thief of joy. And comparing yourself to people in our field, like the journal community, the mixed media community, comparing yourself to people that are around you on the daily is only going to steal your joy and only going to take away any sort of spark you may have. Some people may draw inspiration from other people, but I think more times than not, it will normally make you go, well, they're doing really, really well. Why aren't I? You know, we started at the same time. Why aren't I doing so well? So why should I bother? Blah, 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 blah. It is a hate cycle that you don't want to be into. So one thing that I like to do is I turn to books. Books, for some reason, because they are separate from the internet, they're a physical thing that you can walk away from your phone, you can walk away from your computer, you can walk away from the internet and open a book in your own surroundings and just get lost in the colors, in the drawings, in the style. Go to the library if you have to. Like, if my library was closer, man, I would live there, but it is not close to me. I have to take a 35-minute bus to get to the library. So these are things that I collect and look at and flick through to get inspiration. And that may be colors like the lemon yellow and that sort of washy blue and brown. And they're colors that are not in my skill set, or not in my skill set, not in my color palette, but there's something that I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'll try that and do an illustration or a drawing in my journal in those colors. And something like this one. This one was one I bought in New York, and it was just filled with absolutely beautiful colors, and it was the colors that got me and like took my breath away. And so I was like, I know that this will be one of the books that I turn to when I am in a funk and need something to drag me out of it. And color is definitely something that drags me out of a funk. If I am feeling really crappy, I'll put on rainbow beads, I'll wear bright colored shoes, I will wear bright colored clothing. It is something that I use as a tool to get me out of the dark. And that is why most of my wardrobe is brightly colored, because I'm in the dark a lot of the time. And so I choose to use color as a tool and a coping mechanism. And so when I see something like this, or something that's really bright and crazy, I will buy it, I will pick it up, and I will use it to help me when I'm feeling very slumpy. And so this sorts of thing, I really love the texture of it and the look of it. So I would go, okay, well, I want to do some painting, or I want to create some texture on my pages in a different way. So I really love the look of the yellow and the red and the pink. I'm going to do that, or the yellow and the white and the red. So I'm going to pick those colors to work with. Or I really love the look of the pink and the orange and the black. I'll do something in my journal with those colors, and that is a starting off point. It's not the be all and end all answer, but it's definitely something that you can definitely use to help you create something in your journal. And these may sound all very simple, and I get it. Believe me, I get it. When hubby says to me, just do something, Bambi, you know, just pick up your pencil, it's hard. It's really hard, but you've got to get out of your own way to do it. And if you don't get out of your own way, you're always going to be in the sad cycle. And I hate saying that because I know it's true, because I know I go through it on almost a fortnightly basis. Getting out of the sad cycle is a hard and arduous task, and getting out of the creativity cycle, like the funk will drag you around like a dead horse. It will, unless you get up and you make steps. You need an action plan. You need to find ways in which you can just do it. And keeping your journal close to you and doing those little bite-sized things. Prepare some of your pages, paint some of your pages. There's no reason why you can't have a day where you just make color patterns on your journal pages, and you don't have to write, you don't have to do anything, but you're making that connection with your journal. And that is a super important part of not getting into a funk or trying to avoid funk, is making that actual hand-to-hand contact with your journal and having it within your grasp, having it with you, having it as a companion. It would be much easier for me to pick up my journal and flick through it and have, you know, a pen stashed inside it like this. I normally have my journal with a pen inside my book because you never know when you're going to want to write something. And so when I'm at home, and it's normally when I'm at home, I will have this around. And if I'm feeling like instantly my book falls open, my pen's there, and I want to start writing something. And these are just little bits and pieces that I do for myself, especially when I know that I'm going through like a crappy artistic time or a crappy feeling time, where my journal is the most important to me, but it is also one of the hardest things to do stuff in. And you need to get over perfectionism. I know that you guys struggle with having your journals being perfect. Instagram has killed creativity to a point where everything is paraded around to be perfect, and it is bloody well not. Life is not perfect, life is messy, life is all about the rough edges, but we don't see the rough edges of people's lives. We see the perfectly curated, beautiful flat lays of people's lives, and then that makes our inner monologue sort of go crazy and be like, well, why don't I have smooth edges? Why don't I have beautifully curated stationery supplies? You know, why isn't my journal page looking pristine and perfect? It really takes away the rawness of keeping a journal. And so I think you need to forget about the fact that this spread may be on Instagram. I don't journal at all for Instagram. And I have half-finished pages. I have stuff that's not glued down. I have weird pornographic poems about my husband. I think we need to get over that fact that our journals are going to be put on stage for people to look at. My journal, don't think I would journal any differently than I do now, even though my journals get shared all around. And so I think you need to think about that as well. Do not think that your journal spreads have to be perfect. It is just about documenting life as it happens. And Rowena's tagline is the best possible thing that I can use in this. It is all about documenting your life as it happens. The good, the bad, the ugly, the ordinary, the extraordinary, the things that don't matter. Taking a selfie in the train. You can barely see it, but there is me on the train, that's my reflection. It's a random photo. I took it. Now I'm going to pop it in my journal somewhere. Where are some other photos that you may get a kick out of? We went to a nursery, hubby and I, and these are all broken pots, and I loved the colors, so I snapped a photograph, and it's one of my favorites. He's got red shoes on. I've got pink shoes on. I love it. Photos with Ro, I sent her a message and said, where's the cute selfie of us? There it is. Graffiti. I love graffiti. Well, this is more about street art. When I was in Newtown and I snapped a picture of it. When I'm not feeling so awesome, I will take a really bad selfie and then pop that in my journal because it's a reflection on how I'm feeling. And I will pop that down and I'll talk about being in a bad mood or talk about something that I'm feeling. I liked the idea of black socks with my pink shoes, and on that day I had a spotty skirt on and a striped top. Stuff like that. Tea. I'm always talking about tea. I am a tea lover, and sometimes I will pop a picture down because I don't have anything else that I feel like doing, and I will literally write about the feeling of wanting some stillness in my life or that sort of thing. So I have all these moments, these silly filters that you use in Snapchat, hubby and I, weird wolf ones, you name it. It's all part and parcel of our lives. It is me documenting my life as it happens, and nothing extraordinary has happened on any of these days. I went to Newtown to look at a nursery. This is me and hubby gaming together, which we do every week, twice a week. There's a routine. This is a picture I sent to Sam and Sian because we were all taking the stupid wolf faces, so I printed it out. I have numerous cups of tea every day, day in, day out, and I happen to be filming the Journal Keeper series, so I snapped a picture of that because I thought it looked pretty, and it will be something that I can pop in my journal later. I like color combos of black, white, and pink, as you can see. So I take pictures of that, and then I use those pictures in weird little vignettes of my life. These are just things that you can do that are so simple and so easy to do without too much fuss or faffing about or skill. There's not a single ounce of drawing, but it's showing little snippets of my life that I love, and they all happen to have pink running through them because my life is just a pink on steroids, really. I just want you to know that funk is partially a state of mind, but at the time it will feel like an anchor and it will feel like it's dragging you down. And you need to watch this video every time you feel like you're in a journal funk, because these are the best things that I can think of in order to give you a life raft and to stop you from getting yourself into that swell of funk. So I know that this wasn't like a hugely creative video, but sometimes you need chats about this sort of topic in order to help you get through it if you feel like you're experiencing it. And I do this on a daily basis. Art is my life, it's my job, it's my career, it's something that I live and breathe. So I need to find ways in order to get through that funk without sort of letting you guys know about it. So I need to keep things going, and so I have these bits and pieces that I do. And when you see me make a collage video, it's probably because I'm struggling creatively to do something else. And so I know collage is one of my things that I do, and I've made collages that I'm absolutely in love with, and that was all because I needed my fallback medium to help me create, to get my hands creating again, even though I was so not in the mood. And watercoloring and doing that sort of thing is slowly becoming another one of my things that I do when I'm feeling not so fabulous creatively. And so I think you need to find the extraordinary in the ordinary, and you need to not think that you need to do glamorous, amazing things in order to keep a journal. And you can just reflect. A journal can just be about thought reflections and feelings and just the little tidbits of our lives. That's what makes a journal beautiful to me, is reading the mundane things about someone's life. Yeah, it may not feel like it's amazing, but think about someone who's going to read that in 50 years. Think about how the world could change in such an amount of time. Think about all those types of things that could be really interesting to someone in the future, but to you it's just your everyday life. And it's just getting the creative habit of journaling every day. Once you get that habit down, you will find that journaling will be something that you do with ease and without even having to think twice about doing it. And that's where we need to get you. That's where we need to get you. That's where I'm going to help you get there. But we've got to sort of tackle the funk first. So I hope this has helped in some way, shape or form. If you have any other types of tips that you have to get out of journaling funk or creative funk, pop them down below or pop them in the Facebook group, because you guys help each other. We all help each other in ways, and our community that we've created has become one of my very favorite things to watch blossom and bloom. And there are so many wise women, and John as well is amazeballs. Can't forget John, he's my male linky of win. So I think that you need to just get out your journal, have it with you, find a moment, make that weekly spread if you have to, make several, prep your pages, make color combination pages that you might want to use later on. Take a few photos, have your little pouch of photographs as inspiration, or just write your reflections. There are just little things that you can do in order to make contact with your journal and get a relationship happening again. And it will blossom and bloom as long as you put the effort into it. I promise you. Have a wonderful day, Achies, and I'll see you again soon. Bye. Things for the new website that my girlfriend Jo and I are working on at the moment. So I decided, with a little bit of a recommendation from Katrin, and she suggested that I try the Midori MD cotton. So enter in this baby. This is the turmeric leather, also a folio, not a traveler's notebook. And this is from Rowena, again at Sojourner. She is one of my top leather makers and a dear friend as well. And when this first came out, the first batch of the yellow, I'm not sure if she called that one turmeric as well, but I was obsessed, and it was like hen's teeth to find. It was so exclusive. No one was giving it up. No one was selling them on the market. I posted about the yellow, constantly bumping my post, looking for any size, any shape. I just wanted to get my hands on this beautiful yellow, and I don't know why I was so nutso about it, because you know that I'm a pink fanatic, and obviously my business planner, my business notebook is the pink